Hi, I'm Sara Lynn, a self-proclaimed neat freak, conquering clutter one space at a time. And today I'm sharing tips for tidying up an adorable nursery. As a new mom myself, I know all too well how quickly a nursery can go from calm to chaotic. So this homeowner has asked for my help getting things organized to make it a peaceful and functional space for her beautiful baby boy. Here's how I did it. I wanted to start by organizing the change table. Now, of course, when it comes to a change station like this, it's really critical to have all of your essentials at hand, but that is also an easy way for clutter to accumulate. So on the top of this change table, I've kept things really simple. I've got my change pad here with some diaper wipes. I love that this mom uses a wipe warmer. Of course, warm wipes make for happy babies, especially in the middle of the night. I've learned this myself the hard way. And then I've kept some absolute necessities handy. Things like soothers, diapers, and personal hygiene items are still within reach, but are neatly organized with this dollar store storage solution. The rest I've tucked away inside these drawers. This clever mommy is using a dresser for her change station as opposed to one of those more open console-style changing tables that you see often. I really prefer the dresser solution because of course there are lots of places to hide essentials away. In drawer number 1, I've got all the diapering essentials, so diapers, wipes, and diaper rash cream. As you can see, I've used individual baskets to keep everything nicely sorted. In our next drawer, I've got folded burp cloths, bibs, and blankets, always great to have on hand. And finally, I've got baby's linens in the 3rd drawer, so I've got some folded towels as well as some fitted sheets for the crib. As you can see, instead of wrestling to fold my fitted sheets, I've actually rolled them. That is a great tip if you want to look more organized than you actually are. Folding fitted sheets can be a nightmare, let's be serious. Whether they're for a baby or a grown-up, they're always a challenge, so I always recommend rolling them if you can. And the rest of the drawers I've dedicated to baby's onesies, nice and neatly folded. Of course, it is always important, in my experience at least, to have 3 times as many onesies as you think you're going to need. Of course, every change station needs a disposal solution, and in this case, I wanted to use one that was quite small. That ensures that it's being changed regularly, so of course, no odors creep up on you. I like to keep a few extra bags tucked into the garbage can. That way, there's always one on hand when you need it. The toy situation in any baby's room can easily get out of hand, so it's important to have storage solutions for every kind. In this case, I've chosen an open storage basket for baby's stuffies because they're really cute and add to the decor. For more oddly shaped toys and things you'd prefer to keep out of sight, I'm using these storage ottomans. These are actually for the living room, but they work really well in baby's room. Plus, they're nice and soft, so you don't have to worry about any hard edges when baby starts to move. It's always a good idea to keep educational toys out on display. That means baby will be more likely to play with them in the future. And in the same spirit, I love to leave my books on display as well to foster a love of reading. To do that, I've created these really simple DIY bookshelves for this room using nothing but a few materials from the hardware store. Now you can find similar solutions to this at big box stores, but those are traditionally used for leaning frames. So I prefer making my own because I can get them extra deep. That way the books won't topple over. All I've done is affixed 1 square length of wood to the wall using some anchors. Obviously you don't want your book sliding off, so this is a good place to use a level. Next, I just used some screws to affix a thinner profile piece of wood on top. Finally, I gave these a quick paint to match the decor in baby's room, and there you have it, DIY bookshelves in just a few steps. Next, I tackled the closet, and I have to admit the closet was a bit of a mess when I arrived, but that totally makes sense to me because sometimes keeping organized means putting things behind closed doors. To help get this closet organized, the first thing I did was to empty everything onto the floor and then divide it by category. Then I arranged a number of different size bins inside the closet. I transferred my piles into each of the bins and then labeled them accordingly. When it comes to clothes that need to be hung, I always prefer to use uniform hangers. This makes everything a little bit easier to see and keeps everything really visually organized. I created these clever DIY hang tags using these 3D letters from the craft store. If you can believe it, these are actually just letter O's. I cut a slit with some scissors, affixed a label, and then hung it over the closet rods. I labeled them by age, which makes it really easy for the parents to know what comes into rotation as the baby grows. This is also an awesome way to keep track of gifted items and hand-me-downs. Now take it from me, managing laundry for an infant can be a full-time job, so I like to create both in and out bins in baby's closet. I labeled one dirty for dirty clothes and then one clean for clean clothes that's just come out of the dryer but hasn't had time to be folded yet. And let's be honest, when you've got your hands full of baby, sometimes you don't always have time to be folding laundry right away. I also like to leave some empty bins for overflow, seasonal storage, and room to grow, because you really can never predict what's to come. And lastly, I wanted to make the space just a little more inviting with a few touches of decor. First, I wanted to add some greenery to this space. Adding a plant like this not only adds some visual freshness, but it also helps to purify the air. Next, I wanted to layer the lighting in this room. Now, usually when it comes to a kid's room, you have an overhead light and maybe a night light, but by layering in your lighting, you give yourself more options for ambiance and make it a little more welcoming. My final and most important tip is just to create a space that you absolutely love. As new parents, you'll likely be spending a lot of time in the nursery, and while your child will have lots of opinions on how its bedroom is supposed to look in the long run, at this point, it's really all about you. So make sure it's a space you are comfy and cozy in and that you feel really good about. And there you have it, a neat and tidy nursery that is perfect for baby. It's always a little easier to stay organized when you have a good starting point. I hope you found these ideas inspiring. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.